Hello friends, I am Manju Veghan from Sarvhitkari Vidya Mandir Malerkotla. Today we will be discussing the chapter Nationalism in India, that is the chapter of class 10th history book. If we talk of nationalism, first of all we will come to know about the definition of nationalism. Now what is basically nationalism? Nationalism is the feeling of oneness among the people living in a territory. Over here the word territory is highlighted. What does it mean? Territory means a specified area where a particular type of population is residing. They are having the same culture, they are having the same constitution under which they are being governed and following all the same rules that are given in their constitution for that particular territory. So it is a feeling of nationalism. If I saw in the previous slide, as I showed you, over here we are seeing the flag of our country. Now this is a pride. Whenever we feel see the flag of our country, we feel pride in it. The national songs we hear about, that gives us, now all these things give us a feeling of nationalism and oneness. In whatever part we are residing in our country, the flag is the same, so it gives the same feeling to every person. So this is called nationalism, when we feel something for our nation. Oneness, we are all one. Being a diverse country, we are having different religions over here, all are having their say and are able to practice them also. So it brings us oneness among the people that are residing in this country. For this, how does it start? This nationalism feeling was evoked in us when Gandhiji came in 1905 in our country. The First World War broke in 1914. At that time, there were certain conditions that British government has put upon us, saying that at least if we fulfill these desires of the British government, we will be given certain independent and certain policies that would be given to the Indians for this. What happened? How did this First World War help in growth of nationalism in India? When this World War broke, it bound the people. What was the reason behind it? Is British imposed war expenditure on India. When this war was going on, all the expenditure that was spent by the Britishers, it was imposed on Indians. That means it was asked the Indians to pay that war booty, whatever has been spent on the war. Income tax was introduced. To fulfill this demand, this is the expenditure to fulfill this expenditure, they introduced income tax on the Indians. Customs duties were raised. The products that were being exported from India or imported into India, on these custom duties were increased, which raised a burden on the people of India. Prices of essential goods doubled during the world period. Obviously, when there is a world war or any kind of war, even a civil war going on, the prices of the products, they increase because the production goes down, consumption is the same. At that time, the price of the goods has to rise. To earn the profit, people raise the goods. So price of the essential goods doubled during the war period. Forced recruitment. Now what is recruitment? That means the people were forcefully asked to send their young children or boys, you can say, of young age to be a part of the army, the British army basically. Forced recruitment was made to the British Indian army. At that time it was Indian army, but it was run by the British people. So they were forced to join this army. Crops failed. Now it was a natural calamity. It was not pre-planned that the crops failed. It was a natural calamity that during this time period the crops failed and resulted in shortage of food materials. The food material got short, and when there is less of supply and the demand is more, definitely the price is going to hike. So the food materials got shortage. influenza epidemic spread in many parts of the country. The diseases spread in the country. Influenza means diseases that spread in many parts of country. In this, we can include that the plague was the most one that spread in this region. Millions of people lost their lives. There was no treatment for that. Even the British government also did not do anything to clear, rectify this kind of influenza that was spreading in the country. So, millions of people lost their lives and the British government did not do anything. Now, when all these circumstances were going on, what happened? Gandhi ji entered this picture and he started the Satyagraha. Grah means the word that is of Hindi, the ghar, जिसको हम बोलते हैं. Gandhi ji came back to India in 1915. He introduced a new powerful method of struggle called the Satyagraha. This weapon he has already used in South Africa, where he was practicing as a barrister, and the government was forced to bend on the knees to give the binding rights that were there for the people. What is the idea of Satyagraha? What was the idea behind this Satyagraha? Satyagraha literally means holding on to truth or truth force. Truth, that is the thing that when speaks the correct words or the true the thing is given. It was a non-violent struggle. The main point of this is that this Satyagraha was a non-violent struggle introduced by Gandhiji in the Indian national movement. In whole of the country India, Gandhiji introduced this movement and everybody was following this movement on the call of Gandhiji. It persuaded the opponents to understand the truth. Who were the opponents over here? They were the Britishers. It was persuaded that to understand those people that whatever the Indians were saying, that was the real truth and they have to give them. It was the cause, if the cause was true and if the fight was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. Who is an oppressor? The person who is pressing you or trying to force you to do certain things. So, Gandhiji, what was his formula? He said that if the cause was true, if it is true, truth is there, you are fighting for the truth, the fight was against injustice. That means definitely the fight is against the injustice rule of the British. Then physical force. The physical force include the force that the British was using through the army and recruiting the people, the soldiers, the sepoys that were called at that time of the British rule, to press the people of Indian country that were fighting for their rights. Was not necessary to fight the oppressor. It was not necessary. Force cannot be applied. If you are not applying the force, the other person cannot apply the force. It is give and take process. Hunger strike. One can what do? It was the weapon of Gandhiji. Hunger strike. He himself also went for many hunger strikes to get the demands fulfilled from the British. Peaceful demonstrations. They demonstrated but only with the peaceful method of it. Strikes were there. Hartal and non-cooperation. Strike and hartal is the version of strike word. Non-cooperation. They did not cooperate with the British government in any field aspect, as are some methods of Satyagraha. These were the methods. Now, how did they non-cooperate with the government? They asked the students not to attend the schools, not to go to the colleges. They asked the lawyers not to attend the courts and also give no justice or judgments who were the Indian lawyers and judges at that time. So, first three Satyagraha movements that were organized by Gandhiji. When he organized these, there were the three movements that were the first he organized. First was the Champaran Movement 1916. We have questioned many times in the CBSE board exams related to that. It was a movement of workers of indigo. Indigo, we know what is the blue color that we give as a dye to the white color clothes. Hindi में इसको नील बोलते हैं. We have all these in common at our home. The movement was the workers of the indigo plantation of the Champaran district of Bihar. It was a product that was produced in Bihar. It was against the oppressive plantation system. Now, what was the system? They were forced to grow indigo. For example, if some person has not grown indigo and he or she has grown some food crop on his land, the British people would come, the persons those have been appointed over there, they would uproot the plants of the food grain, and indigo was forced to grow to them at that same place. So it was a forcefully asked the people to grow indigo, because this indigo was used as a dye in the Manchester plant of Britishers, and it was exported to British. Then comes the second was the Kheda movement, that is 1917. Another year, after 1 year, crops failed and plague epidemic made the life of the farmers miserable in the Kheda district of Gujarat. From this also we come to know that Kheda is a place located in Gujarat. It also clears us a map also. So when this movement was going on, crops failed, plague and epidemic spread, and the life of the people became miserable. How it became miserable? Because when there is no food crop and there is disease also, all these two factors affect the life of the people, and that was what was going on. So they started a movement under Gandhiji's leadership. Gandhiji guided him, the people, that the movement should be followed, in which this movement which will help them to cover the revenue that was they wanted to be reduced. Now, under this leadership, with the demand for a reduction in land revenue, Britishers, what main motive was to collect revenue, the tax which they imposed on the people. So they wanted that this revenue should be exempted from paying. And the third movement that was started under the Satyagraha movement was a mill workers movement. Now, mill workers, who were they? They were the workers who were working in Ahmedabad cotton mills. Low wages and poor working conditions. The two factors that were affecting the people were that their wages were very low and the working conditions are also very poor, forced the mill workers of Ahmedabad to start a movement under Gandhiji's leadership in 1918. We can see the sequence: 1916 Champaran Movement, 1917 Kheda Movement, and 1918 Mill Workers Movement. All these 3 years continuously, Gandhiji toured the country telling the people how and what is Satyagraha and how they can be united under a single banner, and that was the country called India, and this is what we call nationalism, the topic which our is running. Thank you. Have a nice day. See you next time.